Coming up in this episode, listens actively, patiently and demonstrates understanding when receiving information. A communication behaviour. Hello again, welcome back and thank you for downloading this edition of High Performance Pilot, a show dedicated to improving our performance as aviation professionals. To do that, I embrace the core competency matrix and the behaviours contained within it, the skills, the knowledge and the attitudes, giving you the best chance of maximising your performance. Communication is central in the effective functioning of the core competency matrix. It is the link between leadership and teamwork and the rest of the competencies. Listens actively, patiently and demonstrates understanding when receiving information is an essential behaviour within this competency. So, what exactly does it mean? Well, it's all about being an engaged and empathetic listener, especially when you're in the cockpit. Active listening is about giving your full attention to the speaker, giving you the best chance of understanding their message. It's about allowing the speaker time and space to complete their communication. And finally, it is about responding appropriately, letting the speaker know if you've understood what has been said or if more information is required. Now let's talk about why this behaviour is so crucial. Communication is only effective if it is a two-way process. From the viewpoint of the communicator, if a listener doesn't engage or fails to acknowledge what has been communicated, how do they know if it has been heard or understood? This leads to repetition and a reduction in capacity to deal with other duties. If poor communication goes unnoticed or unchallenged, this can lead to misunderstandings with the possibility of dire consequences. Let's talk about how we can achieve proficiency in this behaviour. First, as the communicator, help the person you are communicating with. Be concise and stick to the point. Be careful not to make assumptions about the listener's level of understanding. This will help them understand your communication and respond appropriately. Speak clearly and at a steady pace. Remember that your colleague may not share the same native language. Next, as the listener, ensure you are actually engaging with the person who is speaking. That is, actively listening. Have you ever been briefed on an approach and then realised you haven't taken in any of it? Pay attention to the communicator and rather than be a passive bystander, contribute to the conversation. This approach will give you the best chance of absorbing all the information being imparted. And lastly, stick to SOPs. And in this instance, adhere to the principle of only communicating essential information during periods of critical flight. By that, I mean taxiing and any time the aircraft is below 10,000 feet, or MSA. This reduction in unnecessary communication will reduce the amount of active listening required and so decrease the chance of misunderstandings. Effective operation requires us to understand potential threats and errors associated with our operation, and so allow us to avoid and mitigate them. Here are some of the threats associated with lack of proficiency in this behaviour. Failure to listen actively or respond appropriately leads to unnecessary repetition and a subsequent reduction in spare capacity. A reduction in spare capacity leads to reduced situational awareness. Failure to respond appropriately can lead to misunderstandings. This introduces an unnecessary threat into the operation and a corresponding increase in risk. That may be as simple as missing an air traffic control slot, worse, incurring a level bust, and worse still, inducing and accident. A simple example of this behaviour is our day-to-day interaction with air traffic control. A controller transmits a message: Big Jet 123, climb flight level 120. And we reply: climb flight level 120, Big Jet 123. By actively listening, we are able to read back the instruction and so acknowledge we have received it correctly. And if not, the controller will clarify. Apply this simple behaviour to all of your communications. Here are the key takeaways for this episode's behaviour. Communication is a two-way process that is facilitated through active listening and responding appropriately. Active listening involves giving full attention to the speaker, allowing them time and space to communicate, and then engaging to demonstrate understanding. Threats from lack of proficiency include a reduction in situational awareness and increased operational risk. So there you have it. Listens actively, patiently, and demonstrates understanding when receiving information. A behaviour from the competency communication. I hope you found it useful, that you've heard something you can put into practice the next time you operate. High Performance Pilot has an ultimate aim: to stimulate interest in the core competencies and inspire you to seek them out and apply them to further improve your effectiveness as a pilot. Each week, one behaviour from one competency. We'll break it down and provide tips and advice on how to make it a strength in your operation. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and visit High Performance Pilot on YouTube. Join me next week. If you wish to contribute or ask a question, please email me at highperformancepilot@gmail.com.